No one expected a war to begin in silence. The first sign was not an explosion or a scream, but a deep stillness that spread across the outer colonies like a held breath. Ships stopped responding. Stations went dark. Entire alien fleets froze in place as if something unseen had wrapped around their minds and refused to let go. The Galactic Union had faced wars before. They had fought monsters, machines, and each other. But this was different. This enemy did not destroy worlds. It took control of them. The Union called the enemy the Veiled Ones because no sensor could fully see them and no scan could explain how they moved. They appeared as shifting shapes of light and shadow, bending space around them. Where they arrived, order collapsed. Soldiers forgot commands. Pilots lost control. Leaders froze in fear without knowing why. Entire planets surrendered without a single shot. When the Veiled Ones reached the research world Karan 9, panic spread faster than any signal. Karan 9 was not a military base. It was a science world, home to hundreds of alien species working together. And hidden deep below its surface was something the Union had spent decades trying to understand. A creature. It was massive, larger than any land animal known. Its body was covered in soft, pale fur, glowing faintly with natural blue light. Crystal-like shapes grew along its back and sides, pulsing slowly like a calm heartbeat. The scientists had named its subject Atlas. Atlas had been found drifting through space inside an ancient shell of stone. It showed no aggression, but no one could control it. Chains snapped like thin wire. Energy fields failed. Tranquilizers strong enough to stop battleships barely made it blink. And now the Veiled Ones were coming. The Union believed Atlas might be a weapon, or a shield, or a key. No one knew, but fear pushed reason aside. If Atlas could not be controlled, it had to be contained at all costs. As alarms echoed through Karan 9, teams rushed into the containment chamber. The room was reinforced with layers of metal and energy barriers. Alien scientists shouted orders in dozens of languages. Machines hummed as new restraints activated. Atlas remained seated at the center of the chamber, eyes half closed, breathing slow and steady. It did not resist. It did not attack. It simply existed. When the first veiled scout appeared outside the planet's atmosphere, panic reached its peak. Military leaders ordered full lockdown, more chains, stronger drugs, maximum suppression. The restraints tightened around Atlas's limbs. Energy fields pressed down with crushing force. A new wave of tranquilizers flowed into its body. For the first time, Atlas reacted. The crystals along its fur flared bright blue. The ground shook. Scientists stumbled as instruments overloaded, but the creature did not roar or strike. Instead, it curled slightly inward as if in pain. And then everything failed. Every chain snapped at once. Not violently, but as if they had simply lost meaning. Energy fields flickered and vanished. The tranquilizer system shut down, their screens filled with unreadable symbols. The scientists froze. Atlas stood. Its full height filled the chamber, its glow lighting every corner. Fear flooded the room. Several researchers collapsed. Others screamed. Some simply stared, unable to move. Outside the chamber, behind reinforced glass, commanders watched in horror. If Atlas escaped, Karan 9 would fall. If it fought, nothing could stop it. That was when the doors opened again. A human walked in. He was not wearing armor, no heavy weapons, just a simple exploration suit, worn and scratched. His name was Elias Ward, a Union liaison sent to observe, not to act. Everyone shouted at him to stop. Elias did not. He walked slowly toward Atlas, hands visible, heart pounding, but face calm. Every step felt like madness. Alarms blared. Weapons targeted him. Orders screamed through comms. Atlas looked down at him. The chamber fell silent. Elias stopped a few steps away. He did not raise a weapon. He did not activate any device. He simply sat down on the floor. Alien observers stared in disbelief. Elias looked up at the towering creature and spoke in a soft, steady voice. No commands, no threats, just sound, rhythm, and calm. Atlas tilted its head. The blue glow softened. For the first time since its discovery, Atlas lowered itself back down. Outside the chamber, silence turned into shock. The Veiled Ones reached the edge of the system. And humanity had just done something no one else had even tried. No one spoke after Atlas sat down again. The silence felt heavier than any alarm. Alien scientists stared through the glass, their hands shaking as they held their data tablets. Machines slowly came back online, screens filling with stable readings instead of warnings. Atlas was calm. The blue light in its fur pulsed gently like a resting heart. Elias remained seated on the floor. He did not move closer. He did not touch the creature. He simply stayed where he was, breathing slowly, letting the moment settle. Every species in the room expected Atlas to change its mind at any second. It did not. Outside the chamber, Union commanders argued. Some demanded Elias be removed at once. Others wanted him studied like a rare experiment. A few quietly admitted that what they had seen made no sense at all. Atlas had ignored force. But it responded to a human presence. Sensors began recording something strange. When Elias spoke, the crystals along Atlas's body shifted in small patterns, not random. They matched the rhythm of his voice. When he went silent, the glow slowed. When he spoke again, it changed. The creature was listening. Elias noticed it too. He spoke softly again, using simple words, not because he thought Atlas understood the language, but because calm mattered more than meaning. He talked about space, about long journeys, about being far from home. His voice stayed even, steady, human. Atlas lowered its head. On the outer edge of the system, the veiled ones arrived. They did not come as ships. Space itself bent as their presence spread. Union defenses activated automatically. Fighters launched. Weapons charged. Nothing happened. The veiled ones did not attack. Instead, every living mind in the system felt pressure, like invisible hands closing around their thoughts. Panic surged across Karan 9. Some aliens collapsed. Others screamed. Communication lines filled with broken words and fear. Inside the chamber, Atlas reacted. The blue glow flared brighter than before. The ground vibrated. Elias felt it through the floor, but he did not run. He placed one hand flat on the metal surface and stayed still. Atlas looked past him toward the stars. The creature let out a deep, low sound. It was not a roar. It was not anger. It was something closer to warning. Data screens exploded with signals. Energy waves rolled outward from the chamber, passing through the planet's surface and into space. The veiled ones hesitated. For the first time, they slowed. Union scientists realized something terrifying and incredible at the same time. Atlas was not a weapon. It was not a prisoner. It was a guardian. The veiled ones pushed again, increasing their mental pressure. Cities across Karan 9 suffered. Aliens collapsed in the streets. Machines failed. Fear spread like fire. Atlas stood once more. Elias finally moved. Slowly, carefully, he reached out and placed his hand against Atlas's fur. It was warm, soft, alive. The glow stabilized. The pressure eased. Across the planet, minds cleared. People gasped as fear released them. Outside, Union sensors showed the veiled ones pulling back slightly as if confused. They had never faced resistance like this. The commanders made a decision that went against every rule they had ever followed. They turned off the weapons. They focused on Elias. Inside the chamber, human and creature stood together, calm in the middle of chaos, as the galaxy began to realize something dangerous and new. Humanity had not controlled Atlas. Humanity had connected with it, and the war was only beginning. The veiled ones did not retreat far. They hovered at the edge of the system, watching, waiting, testing. Their presence pressed against reality like a storm held back by thin glass. The Union fleets remained silent. Weapons stayed powered down, not from trust, but from fear of making things worse. Inside the containment chamber, Atlas remained standing, its glow steady and strong. Elias stayed close, but not too close. He understood something now that the others were only beginning to learn. Atlas did not obey, it chose. Union scientists worked quickly. They recorded every change in Atlas's energy, every shift in the crystals, every reaction to Elias' voice and movement. Patterns formed, clear ones. Atlas reacted strongest when Elias was calm. Fear weakened it, panic made the glow unstable. But when Elias stayed steady, Atlas became stronger. This changed everything. Across the planet, emergency broadcasts instructed people to remain calm. Many alien species struggled with this. Fear had always been their warning system. Humans were different. They had learned over thousands of years to act while afraid. That difference now mattered. The veiled ones pushed again. This time their attack focused on minds, not machines. Command centers fell silent as officers froze mid-thought. Pilots drifted helplessly. The pressure felt colder, sharper. Elias felt it too. Images flooded his thoughts. Darkness. Endless space, fear without shape or name. His hands shook, but he stayed where he was. He slowed his breathing. He spoke again, steady and low. Atlas responded. The glow intensified, not violently, but with control. A wave of energy spread outward, smoother than before. The veiled ones recoiled. Several of their forms flickered, losing shape. They were hurt. That was when the truth became clear. The veiled ones fed on fear. They did not conquer with weapons. They weakened species by turning their own minds against them. Panic was their doorway. Calm was poison. Humans, with their strange mix of fear and control, were something the Veiled Ones had never faced before. Realizing this, the Veiled Ones changed tactics. They reached for Elias. The pressure on his mind increased sharply. He gasped, falling to one knee. Memories surged forward. Loss, regret, guilt, everything he had buried. Atlas reacted instantly. The creature moved between Elias and the invisible attack. The glow flared, forming a protective field that wrapped around them both. The pressure broke. Across the system, Union sensors recorded something impossible. The Veiled Ones were communicating, not with words but with intent. They were afraid. They did not understand humans. They could not control them the way they controlled others. And now Atlas had chosen a side. Union leaders faced a terrible choice. Hide Elias and hope the Veiled Ones left, or place him at the center of the defense and risk everything. They chose the risk. Elias stood again, leaning against Atlas's massive form. His fear had not vanished, but it no longer ruled him. Above Karin 9, space twisted as the Veiled Ones gathered for a final push. They would not retreat again, and humanity was about to stand where no species ever had. The final push began without warning. Space above Karin 9 folded inward as the Veiled Ones moved together. Their presence darkened the stars. The pressure on every living mind returned, stronger than before. Panic spread despite the warnings. Entire cities froze as fear took hold. Inside the chamber, Atlas felt it instantly. The glow along its body surged, shifting from soft blue to bright white. The crystals pulsed faster, reacting to the growing threat. Elias stood at its side, breathing hard but staying focused. He could feel the pressure again, pushing against his thoughts, trying to break him. Across the planet, Union commanders activated emergency plans. Civilian shelters sealed. Power grids stabilized. Military ships formed defensive lines not to attack but to shield the planet. The Veiled Ones reached deeper. They struck at memory, at instinct, at everything that made fear easy. Strong species collapsed. Ancient warriors trembled. Minds trained for battle failed in seconds. Humans did not collapse. They struggled. They shook. But they moved. Human crews followed simple orders. Breathe. Focus. Act. Their fear stayed, but it did not take control. Atlas reacted to this shift. The creature's energy field expanded, spreading far beyond the chamber. It wrapped around the planet like a quiet shield. The pressure eased wherever humans were present, growing stronger with every calm mind. The Veiled Ones noticed. They changed direction. Instead of attacking the planet, they focused fully on Atlas. The mental force slammed into the creature like a storm. Atlas staggered for the first time. The glow flickered. Cracks appeared in the crystal patterns. Elias felt it and acted without thinking. He stepped forward and pressed both hands against Atlas's side. He spoke louder now, not shouting but firm. His voice carried purpose. Around the planet, humans did the same. They spoke. They sang. They focused on each other instead of the fear. Atlas stabilized. The glow returned, stronger and clearer. The energy field sharpened, pushing outward in a focused wave. Space trembled. The Veiled Ones screamed without sound. Several of their forms shattered, dissolving into nothing. The rest recoiled violently, retreating from the wave. The pressure on minds vanished all at once. Silence returned. But it was not victory. Atlas collapsed. The massive creature lowered itself to the ground, exhausted. The glow dimmed, fading to a soft flicker. Elias fell to his knees beside it, heart racing. Med teams rushed forward but stopped short. They did not know how to help. No tools worked. No machines responded. The Veiled Ones were gone but not defeated. Union sensors showed them regrouping beyond the system, gathering strength for something worse. And Atlas, the only being that could stop them, was failing. Elias rested his forehead against the creature's warm fur and stayed there. The galaxy held its breath. Atlas did not move. Its massive body lay still at the center of the chamber, the soft glow along its fur fading to a weak pulse. Machines showed no clear readings. The scientists could not tell if it was sleeping, dying, or something in between. Across Karin 9, people waited. The Veiled Ones remained outside the system, silent but present. Their pressure did not return, but their shadow remained. They were watching, learning, preparing. Union leaders met in emergency session. Panic was replaced by fear of time. Atlas had protected the planet, but it could not do so again in its current state. No weapons could stop what was coming. Elias stayed with Atlas. He sat beside the creature for hours, speaking softly even when no one believed it could hear him. He spoke about Earth, about storms and oceans. about humans standing together when things seemed hopeless. His voice never broke. Slowly, the crystals responded, not with power but with warmth. The scientists noticed something strange. Atlas's energy did not react to machines or medicine. It reacted only to Ilia's, and not to his words but to his presence. They began to understand. Atlas was not weakening. It was waiting. The veiled ones made their move. Instead of attacking, they reached out across space, projecting a message into every mind capable of receiving it. Their intent was clear. Atlas belonged to them. It was an ancient guardian meant to serve balance, not one species. They demanded Ilias be removed. Union leaders argued again. Many feared what would happen if Ilias stayed. Others feared what would happen if he left. Ilias made the choice for them. He stood and placed his hand against Atlas's chest. His voice was calm but firm. He told the creature he would not leave. He told it he was not afraid of standing with it, no matter the cost. Atlas responded. The glow returned, brighter than before, but different, softer, deeper. The crystals shifted into new patterns. Energy readings changed in ways no one had seen. Atlas was not preparing to fight. It was preparing to share. A wave of energy spread from the chamber, touching every human in the system. Fear did not vanish. It became steady, manageable. Focus replaced panic. The veiled ones reacted with shock. They pulled back sharply, as if burned. For the first time, the galaxy understood the truth. Atlas did not draw strength from power. It drew strength from connection. And humanity, with its strange ability to stand together in fear, was exactly what it had been waiting for. The veiled ones began to retreat, but Ilias knew it was not over. Atlas lifted its head and looked at him, not as a guardian or a weapon, but as an equal. Something final was coming. The veiled ones did not return. For a long time, the system stayed quiet. Union sensors scanned empty space where the enemy had once